Hello. Happy Saturday. Hey, Rhiannon Journey. How's it going? All right, here we go. Here we go again. All right. 12:58. Saturday here. This is Digital Iliad. We're working on an FTL-like in Godot. Isometric kind of 2D take on FTL, faster than light. The classic quote-unquote space roguelike of subset games. The inimitable Matthew Davis and Jay Ma. And yeah, we wrote a lot of code yesterday. We didn't test any of it, so this song feels appropriate. This feels like a hijinks kind of song. Like we're getting up to hijinks. There's something mischievous. All right, now we can change the radio. That was fun, though. I like that. How's the canvas renderer coming along? Okay, we wrote most of the code needed on the C# side. It's kind of wrong, but that's because I realized that there is there's like, I wasn't thinking about the relationship of the tile space to the canvas correctly, but you know, we're gonna just go for it. So what we need to do now, we wrote all the way up until send canvas item draw params, which I might just call like send canvas item draws. I don't know. Relay or something. Well, we have to pack them first is what we have to do. Which is this, pack canvas item draw param. So I wrote this to work on a given index, and it will create a primitive array for each index and send it over. That seems okay. The alternative to doing it this way would be to send all of it over and then split it up in like a threaded task on the other side, which I don't exactly want to do. I'm not quite sure about that, but we'll do this for now. So pack. And what's this? We have a to-do. Relay to game object to send back to the tile mosaic canvas items. Oh yeah, we have to do it within here, don't we? We can't do it. We have to do it within our fixed scope. Right. I'm hoping doing this incrementally will be a little better, but we'll see. This is one of the few things that needs to happen really quickly all at once. So I really hope this ends up being performant. Because almost everything else that happens in the game, all the background processes, all the like simulation takeover and all that stuff, that can all happen slowly from a computer standpoint. Like we can put those on background threads and they can just work until they're done. And if it takes like half a second, who cares? If it takes a whole second, I care a little, but I still don't really care. But it's that visual loop. The visual loop needs to be like instant. It needs to never interrupt, and it needs to like just always be going. I mean, we can save a lot of time with canvas items because the queue redraw. Like we aren't always going to queue the redraw, which is really nice. But it's like when we do a redraw, it needs to be like snappy. So good luck to us. You're excited to see the first pixels drawn with a new render. They will be in the wrong place, but yes, I am too. I set the location based on like block position, like where their position would be in block space, but like not based on the offset of like the foot of the block, which is like the underlying tile, because a block rests above the tile, like the bottom tile, like the input tile. So we'll see. It'll be interesting. It'll be all right. I'm also not sure I'm totally accounting for the shift that happens as you go up, but you know, we'll see. I'm excited too. I'm excited to see what we got. But yeah, we're working on this kind of z-indexed draw order thing that kind of draws them one z-index at a time. So as we go ahead here. Kind of tempted to do something stupid here. I've been looking at it and like it takes about an hour for the stream to really get going. So I'm thinking about like how to channel that or how to like take advantage of that in terms of like the programming. In terms of like doing something. Oops. How did I blow this so thoroughly here? Oh yeah, I know how. Still not used to the new outlining system. I'm especially not used to the triple outline here at the diagonal junction. Random Journey, are you doing a canvas layer per z-index for now? You know, you mentioned per room, which might make the cutaway system easier. Yeah, we're going to do it z-index for now. Because that's the most straightforward to me. Oops. Let's do it the other way. And that will also, I think that'll also work really well with Y sorting. Because you only Y sort within a given Z index, like traditionally. And so it makes sense to have a canvas item per Z index at the moment to me. That makes sense to me. So yeah, I'm just gonna chill for a second and we're gonna touch up this diagram because I realize it doesn't actually communicate what I want it to. But yeah, I was thinking, oh, hold on. You're saying, get as much programming done as possible before chat takes off. I don't know. It's kind of like understand the gradient of like, part of it's like just understanding the gradient of like, as more people pop in, we're probably going to get more into like explanatory loops and to be like, okay with that. I don't need to do this by hand. I don't know why I was doing this by hand. It's part of the reason why, I guess. But yeah, I'm thinking about like the future. We were talking about, when I start doing edited content and how I'd like to do it like Arma style or there's a number of people that do it this way, but it's like I just record live segments of the stream and then like clip them out. And we don't script it too much, and it's usually just talking head content. And I'm like, you know what? The right time to put that in is at like the front when there's like 2 people in the chat. So I'm just thinking about that. Doing stuff that's like a little maybe more focused at the top of the stream. And then just kind of acknowledge the slow shift to more like hanging out that kind of just happens. Yeah, I don't know if it's going to like affect the programming that much directly, but I'm just kind of thinking about the dynamic. I don't know. You were going to ask, Rhiannon, if you're doing per rooms, does that make it more difficult to interleave characters and game objects into the environment? It would, which is why I'm hesitant to like actually try that. I don't think per compartment is like a realistic approach. I'm kind of tempted to try it, but I don't think it'll work. I think per Z index is good. And yeah, I messed around with some of the Y sorting. And I think it's going to work well. Like, I think it'll be really easy to interleave characters, especially because we've opted to just kind of do a simple approach, which is that we like sort. We sort the drawables based on their Z index and their Y sort. Well, we don't technically need to sort them based on their Z index, but we do sort them by their Y sort for sure. We do both. One is just kind of overkill. But you could imagine a world where we could potentially sort. I don't know. We need to see. We need to see where the performance trade-off is, because it's like if we can do a good job with occlusion culling and reduce the overdraw, that's great, because that'll reduce the amount of unnecessary calls we're making to the canvas items. And the more we can reduce that, the fewer canvas items we need, really, because if you're not doing a lot of overdraw, then you're less often triggering the queue redraw. And if you're triggering the queue redraw less often, you don't need quite as many canvas items to like avoid the constant redraw. So I'm curious to see where that, like how that curves out, like where the sweet spot is in terms of number of canvas items. I know this is stupid what I'm doing here, but bear with me. I'm also kind of tired. I ended up working for like about 14 hours yesterday between game dev and day job, and it was brutal. I had a major deadline that I needed to hit. The process was way slower than I thought it would be. And oof. So I'm a bit tired and unfocused today, but we're here. I'm calling it a Saturdays. Dave's Saturdays. D-A-Z-E. Consider me dazed and confused. Or daved and confused. Hey, Rimas. How's it going? How are you doing? Rhiannon, like if you're looking at the equivalent of layer 9, you don't need to draw any of the layers below it, right? It depends. And that's going to be part of our occlusion culling process, which is like, if all our blocks are like these, like they're solid hull blocks and they are neither semi-transparent nor like cutout, I guess, alpha cutout. If they're semi-transparent or they have like an alpha cutout, meaning they don't fully obscure the tile behind them, then that's not necessarily true. And, you know, we could come up with a really complex test for determining whether something's alpha cutout by using like a signed distance field or something like that. But it's like, is that how we want to spend our time? Or if we just have a canvas item per Z layer, can we get away with like doing a decent job and it be fine? I don't know. These are the things I've decided not to prejudge and to just kind of see how the system works. I see a Magoo. Magoo who? Magoo you. That's who. Magooer? I hardly know her. Okay, I'm done. How's it going, Magoo? Your shared channel reached 400 follows? Hell yes. That's awesome. I know I'm doing this in like a very duplicated effort kind of way, but you know, let me have this. Sometimes this is kind of what I want to do. Some kind of simple little, relatively mindless task where we can kind of just hang out for a bit. Give me my inefficient workflows sometimes, you know? You gotta go? All right, take it easy, Mago. Doing menial tasks can be useful in ordering other thoughts. Yeah, exactly. Like we're talking about semi-related stuff while I'm kind of just messing around here. Is this... Did I do this wrong? Did I go astray somewhere here? I don't think so. No. We're all right. Oop. Oh, almost done. I will save some time and just mirror this part. What in the heck? Oh, I missed a spot. That's okay. It's good to know, actually. Will the Z layers be dynamic based on how big the build space is, or will always have the 64 plus 63 plus 63 canvas layers? Well, so that's a great question. We don't need to use all of those. So we do want a system that when you're done building, like, well, it's a good question. It depends, would be my answer. I think in the scene tree, we will always have that many canvas items ready to go, just so we don't disturb the scene tree. And so we can handle stuff. Because you could also imagine maybe your build only takes up like the inner half of that. But what about someone floating outside the ship, in front of the ship or something? Or like a little shuttlecraft that's like coming in. Like we're doing a thing which I like to do, which is we're making like the rendering constant. Like obviously we're not calling Q redraw on CanvasItem at all times, but we're defining like a top line, which is like we may be updating all 190 of these canvas items. That's like as intense as the graphics processing will ever get, and then usually we'll be a little lower than that. So as long as the performance for that top line number is good, I don't see a reason to do other. Because it's, and yeah, but if we're doing something else, like let's say we're rendering like a preview or I don't know, or maybe there's a way of viewing a ship by itself. It could be, you know what we'll probably have is we probably will actually have 192. So it probably will be 64 plus 64 plus 64, basically. Because you could imagine we have the 190 that's for inside. We'll probably have one far background canvas item and one foreground canvas item. We'll have at least one of each, right? To handle things like stars moving past in the background, or like and in the foreground, we'll do like a Star Trek style, like stars moving around deal. Nope, I missed another spot. Rip. That makes sense. You're not dealing with allocating new canvas items in game. No, I would like our scene tree to be super stable. I don't want to be allocating and deallocating nodes. And I know you're thinking, but Dave, you could just use a pool. And it's like, yeah, I could. But we don't need to do stuff like that, because we have our game data totally somewhere else outside of the scene tree as like lightweight simulation objects. We're not actually dependent on whatever the thing is that's being drawn is doing. Like we don't wait for the character to like run to the next tile for us to be like, oh, he's in the next tile now. Like we're not calling back to anything in the scene tree to the way you would maybe do it normally when it's combined, where you'd like have a sprite 2D that's like physically moving to the next tile and it's like pinging against the tile map layer, and it's like, okay, I'm in this tile now. Like the bare necessities style, the bare necessities approach, which I actually have a template for now, which will hopefully make it easier to do tile map layer games in for jams. All right, I should be able to do this more easily. I could also just say forget it. Just do it. You know what I could do? Here's what I could do. We'll just move this layer out of the way. We'll take this layer, copy it, paste it, and then we'll move this part back. We'll do the same thing with the next one. Oh. Hey, Sapphire. How's it going? Happy Saturday. I was like, I thought the corner of my eye, I thought I saw the distinctive Sapphire Starship purple. All right. So the reason I wanted to do this stupid change is I wanted to actually recolor these so that you could actually kind of see what was happening here. So it's 3 and 4. That one. Not too much going on today. You should be getting some stuff done. You just find yourself chilling. I feel you. It does appear more purple, doesn't it? Tried setting it to a nice blue a while ago. It just shows this purple. Rhiannon, you're just bothering Dave with questions about the new renderer. No, you're on topic. I'm the one that's just like, la da 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 da. Let me mess around with diagrams. But I actually find some utility in these things. It helps me think about it, if nothing else. Okay, I gotta stop doing it here. Gotta do this. This is a little dumb. Did I do too much? I did too much. Is your name red now? Yep. No. Nope, now it's back to purple. You know what's funny? I set my default color to blue. So even though I show up as red, maybe it's like, oh, maybe Pretzel Rocks took the blue. I think it's because Pretzel Rocks is blue. So maybe it like, and Pretzel Rocks is always in the channel. So maybe Pretzel Rocks reserves it. Because I know the YouTube will change your color if there's like too many, if there's like people with your color sometimes to like make it distinctive for the streamer. I don't know. I am not a good guesser. Oh, in dark mode it shows purple. Oh, that must be it. All right. Someone knows what they're talking about. Yeah, I mean, you'll have multiple people with the same color. I think the system tries to alternate. So like, but obviously once you get a certain number of people, you run out of colors. I don't know. That's what I feel like I've seen. Maybe that's not how it works. knows? Who knows with Twitch? Everyone's having a happy Saturday here. If you're working on something, may you encounter no blockers. If you're just chilling, enjoy. Keep chilling. Got a little crackling fire. Yeah, I misunderstand how things are rendering all the time just because I'm using dark mode. Definitely affects things. I know this is probably perplexing, whatever I seem to be doing right now, but don't worry about it. We're just hanging out. We'll get into the code in a minute. I'm just kind of unfocused. Kind of just want to chill for a little bit while the stream gets going here. Seems to take about an hour for us to really get cooking. Is this the wrong? I'm on the wrong. Let's see. Yeah, I should be up one. Should be like up here. No, not there. Should be like here. Yes. Yes. That was too far. Oh, not quite. I didn't quite do this right. Uh-oh. Messed up the 7. Glad someone's doing the important work over there. All right, now we're gonna flip it around and we're only gonna paint in the inside because it's getting small enough. It's easier to do this now. I like this music. One last bonfire before something. One last bonfire before the world ends by abstraction. Nice. What's the dark red outline for? I'm going to distinguish in this diagram the actual part of the z-index. Like right now it builds up each z-index layer, but there's no way to tell the division between them. So I'm just going to color them so you can actually see which part of each z-index is what. So right now it's like not clear what's happening. Doesn't matter, but it's a diagram, so it might as well communicate the thing it's trying to communicate well. Some people give me flack for spending time on diagrams, but it helps me explain what I'm trying to do. It helps me think through what I'm trying to do. So I consider it time well spent in most cases. There's a lot of times where I've thought I understood what I was about to do, and then I diagram it out, and I'm like, oh, Lord. I missed something. Mighty Lord Poseidon. How could I have missed this? Lord of Horses in the sea. Hey, Nyx with the 7 stream streak. Good to see ya. Hope you're doing all right. All right. Okay, we did the hard part. Now we get to do the easy part. So this is what we're doing. I like your very broad approach to this, Rhiannon. I think people should live and let live, unless it's harming someone else, and you don't think this counts as that. You're talking about my diagramming. I hope my diagramming doesn't harm anyone. It's something that comes up. I mean, not diagramming specifically, obviously, but in indie dev circles, there's always this anxiety and conversation about like where you pick your battles. Because indies especially have way less resources to throw at stuff. So they generally have to pick their battles very carefully. And so it always, and especially if you're a solo dev, it always feels like if you're doing one thing, you're not doing like 8 and 9 other things. People are very declarative when they tell you about what you should be doing. Imperative. I'm not a man of letters. Hey, OG Rick over on YouTube. How's it going? The Doob. What's up? Happy Saturday. Or should I say Saturdays? Dave's Saturdays. Appreciate it. You're having a fine one. Hope you've managed to just, crack open a nice cold weekend here in winter. good time. We're kind of warming up. This isn't really the right context for it, but I have been told when you sit down to do programming or something for like, you know, a few hours or a day shift or whatever you're doing, start with something easy. Don't sit down and immediately try to tackle like the hardest thing on your to-do list. Warm up. Do something simple. Do something to help you focus. All right. Okay. So now see how this diagram actually kind of does what I want it to do. It actually shows us what part. Way better. Again, we don't really need a diagram for this, but I like to have it. Helps me think about it. It's fun to do this too. It's fun to do this part. All right. Back to programming. The fact that you can do that looks cool to play around with. Yeah, it looks cool. It would have been cool if I had done it that way originally. Like, we're basically done with implementing that at this point, but I thought it would look cool. And I wasn't ready to get into the programming, so now I am. I feel warmed up. I think my coffee's starting to kick in. It's cool. Keeping motivation is also an important part of game dev, and getting to do that every once in a while would keep you motivated. Yeah. I appreciate these color tests you're running. All right, so now what we did yesterday, we got all our CanvasItem params set up. So we're getting all the data we need to send over to Godot to do our CanvasItem draw call. We do that, and then what we do is we pack all of that data in. We make a byte array, a primitive byte array. We convert all of these down to shorts. We store them as shorts. We can't convert them to bytes because their numbers are too big. I don't think convert to byte works that way. But we know we're able to compress everything down into a short, so we're going to do that. We're doing that in a span, so it's basically free. And then we can just pipe back the byte array. So what we need to do now, we need to reload. We need to relay this to the game object to send it back to the tile mosaic canvas items. I'm kind of tempted to call it like, to have a function called like relay canvas item drop. Well, no, we can't do it here. If we're going to do it, we're going to do it in the game object. So the game object is going to take... There is a bit of an inefficiency here where we have the Z index in every single canvas item draw param. And I think I'm okay with that. It's totally useless right now, but we have the space for it. We're doing this per Z index. So we should probably send over the Z index too, because why not? All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to send back the index, and we're going to send back the draw calls. Oh my god, the pretzel rocks blue. Yeah, my default is a kind of teal. All right, so right now we're doing this send tilemap data call. Instead, we can say like send draw params or something like that. Relay draw params, I don't know. Oh yeah, I think send is okay. You can also just say send tile draws. Say draw params. This is already called send. No, this is called pack. Okay. Yeah, whatever. We'll do the whole thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to send the data, send the index, say int index, byte params. No, can't say parent params, but we can't say draws. In which case, I guess I want draws first. And then what we're going to do. So we want the similar logic of like if we're about to exit, don't do this. If we're like in the middle of exiting, absolutely don't do this. Oh, I don't want to call the nodes. All I need to do is... Oh, this is interesting. No, yeah, let's send it just to the tile mosaics. Yeah, we'll send it to this node. Tile mosaics. We'll say tile... Oh, no, I can't do it that way. That's why we're doing it with the static, right? I gotta say nodes. And then I gotta say nodes. And what do we call this? Child.tilemosaics. Call something like draw. How about relay? Relay. Canvas item draw. Well, I might just say relay draw params. Oh, maybe we'll go with the full name for now. Maybe we'll say tile mosaic. We send over the draws and the index, and Bob's your uncle, as they say. I don't consider this problem solved. I need your name to be that same purple that it's been for the last like 3 months, or I'm gonna have a hard time. All right, so we'll call this. I guess we gotta write this function, huh? Time to go into Godot and do what I always struggle with, which is GDScript. All right, you know what our little initial hour experiment just taught me here? A little micro lesson I just got is that people don't really like to watch me draw. Which makes sense. I've kind of been collecting an audience of programmers. I'm not going to not draw on the stream. Just, you know, it's important to know your niche. I think people really like to see stuff happening though. I think my best streams are ones where I'm doing a lot of testing, like where I've got the engine running a lot and people can kind of kick the tires as it were and see what's going on. Oh my god, what is that color, Sapphire? Is it like olive green? Calamad. It's like too dark for like green olive, but it's like that is drab. No, I'm just Twitch has started putting me in a box in terms of like impressions, and I'm just kind of studying. I'm studying like different decisions, how different decisions affect that stuff. So we're gonna send everything to here. So we need a script here. Oop, we got a bot. There's supposed to be a hex code for Sapphire Blue. Oh my lord, yeah, it's like green for me. All right, goodbye, Mr. Bot.
He's dead, Jim.
Got him. All right, so we're gonna do this. We're gonna have a function. It's gonna be called relay canvas item draw params. It's gonna take a packed byte array draws. It's gonna take int of index. This is not how you declare variables in GDScript. I swear, every time I use GDScript, I like have to remember how GDScript works. All right, so we're gonna take this. We need our index. Okay, so what we need to do, just pass first to get it to stop yelling at us. We need a ready func. What we need is a array. Probably be internal. I don't know if we do that. I guess we don't do that. Yeah, it is array of... These aren't, this isn't a custom class. That's better. That's a nice color. I guess it's just a node 2D because right now we're not doing anything fancy with these. It's not like a custom class or anything. So all we do is say for each child node 2D in self. Do we need to say self? No, we can just say get children. Is it for each? For child, I see. I like literally don't remember the syntax for the script ever. There we go. For child, no 2D in get children. File mosaics dot append child as node 2D. Should be fine for now. We were talking about that having a... So what we're going to do here is we're going to say... So I guess we want a script on each of the mosaics, huh? I might change tile mosaics to like tile mosaic container or something. I really don't like having two classes, not two classes, but two different things in scripts The only difference in name between them is an S to make it plural. That it feels bad, but I'm not going to do anything about it right now. All right, so what we're going to have here. I don't love this song. All right, we're heading into ads. It's hard to believe we're already 1 episode in. You won't blend in with pretzel rocks? That is important for me. Yeah, your new name is a lot less saturated than your old one, but it's stands out. I don't see it around a lot, so I'll get used to it. Don't worry about me. Oop. My mice's battery is dying. Let me plug it in here. I have a problem. I have 3 mice on my desk right now. I have an issue. I have issues. All right, so what are you doing? What are we doing here? So do I just call? So I need. I can only do this in. I don't remember how CanvasItem works. Let's look it up. We fear change. Thanks for the stretch. However, they can only be used inside draw. So how do we want to do this? Maybe it does make sense to send over the data all at once. Because, like, there's a set draw command, so I can't just call that. What I can do is I can call and prepare and receive all of the draw. This opens us up to potentially multi-threading this. So, yeah, because we wouldn't want to directly call draw anyway. What we want to do is reconfigure the node and then queue a redraw. So maybe what should actually be happening is that we split the data out. Maybe I do want to send all the data in at once. That doesn't totally make sense to me, but we could do it. We would just need to go back to having like a header. The thing that went wrong with the tile map layer version of this is that altering the tile map appeared, like swapping in the tile map data appeared to trigger some kind of on-changed signal. Same thing if we did a visibility toggle. Either one seemed to trigger an immediate change, and doing that in multiple threads ended up being really bad because those multiple changes would happen at different times. And so you'd get the crazy flickering and like weird effects that we saw before where like one layer would finish before the other and then they'd flip and they'd blah, 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 blah. It's horrible. So I want to avoid that. I don't think CanvasItem inherently has that problem. Like if we look for signals, like we don't have any, as far as I can tell, CanvasItem doesn't have any signals There's the draw signal. It has this it has draw, hidden, item rec changed, visibility changed. Okay, so I don't think... So we had the plan, a potential plan of doing like a visibility flicker thing. More for if we were going to do canvas items drawn per compartment, like each room was its own canvas item. Then we would have could consider doing like visibility flickering for the cutaways. I don't think we're going to do that because this has that visibility change signal. Item rect change, this matters, emitted when the canvas item's boundaries, position or size change, or when an action took place that may have affected those boundaries. Where do we set the canvas item boundaries? Okay, that's not good. This is going to change too. I don't know what effect that has. Draw, emitted when the canvas item must redraw after the related draw notification and before draw is called. Okay. Note, deferred connections do not allow drawing through the draw methods. That's fine. I'm a little concerned. I'm a little concerned about potentially multi-threading this. I'm hoping it will be performed enough that we don't have to worry about it, but I'm curious. Curious. Sapphire, you're really looking forward to hopefully being able to stream and do your own game dev again sometime in the nearest future. You don't really have any kind of project where you're making something right now and you miss it. It's probably why you're playing Factorio, right? That's what I find. I find when I'm really engaged with a project, the way I spend my time is so different. But you're doing it. You're doing it. You're getting your business off the ground, right? You're doing what you got to do. Probably a pretty accurate assessment. That's funny. So we don't even have to actually have a function. We could just have a set. We could just do a queue redraw when we set a variable here. That's maybe okay. I'm a little worried that at its basic level, this is not going to be much more performant than the tile map layer approach. But if we can get a stable multi-threaded version of it, that would be good. If we could get a... or if we can get the occlusion calling and everything down to get those the number of draw calls down, that's also good. This is still, even if the performance is identical with tile map layer, this is better because doing it this way, we can theoretically interleave characters with the background. Like we don't need a separate rendering solution for characters. We can just put them in, we can just weave them into it, and then we can do really neat post-processing stuff like lighting, which I'll hate doing, but we could fake some stuff. We could fake some like glows or something. We'll probably bake a lot of our lighting into the sprites, but we could certainly do some stuff with like maybe like fake a point light, or we can do some kind of bloom-like effect for bright things to give it the feeling like it's causing a light effect. That'll require like sign distance fields and like post-processing passes and stuff. But the other neat thing is if we're doing it per z-index, time to bring out the diagram we spent time on. If we're doing it per z-index, then we can be post-processing per z-index too, which is neat. We can still do a post-process like on the final combination of everything, but we could also do some shader stuff. We could do some shader stuff for each z-index level. Could be good. I don't know. Could be good. Could be fun. You're trying to. Your main hurdle is getting over social anxiety and ADHD. I feel that. I don't really have ADHD, but I understand social anxiety. Which is different than misanthropy. which I try to avoid. But Lord knows it's hard. My Lord Poseidon. I have too much fun, like, invoking a random, like, pantheonic, like, god whenever I, like, let slip, like an American, like, an English, a regular idiom that's, like, calls to some deity. I have fun. Apollo, who shoots from afar. Heed my wish here. Witness me. All right, so what we're gonna do now that we got this, we can relay this. I'm tempted to do all of them at once. Let's think about that. We totally whiffed our, like, Sapphire, you can confirm that I don't that I'm more likely than not don't have ADHD. Yeah, a lot of people slightly younger than me, it seems to be very prevalent, and it's one of those things. I was talking about this with someone the other day. There's, like, a lot of things that, like, some people have that others don't, and it's so hard to explain when it's not part of your lived experience. Like, we were talking about, one, people that have, like, strong inner monologues, like there's, like, their own voice or another voice, like, that represents their running inner thought process. Some people don't have that. Some people think in, like, abstract symbolic terms and, like, aren't, like, simulating a conversation every second. Some people similarly can't visualize things. Like, when they're working out problems, they're not actually, like, drawing a picture in their head. They're, like, manipulating. They're like doing, like, abstract symbol manipulation, and they're not explicitly being like, let me picture what an apple looks like in, like, vivid detail. Like, and it's one of those things where it's like, if you're on one side of that, it's impossible to communicate with people on the other side of that. Like, synesthesia, people for whom, like, colors have sounds, or numbers have colors, or when sensory information gets, like, cross-wired and gets associated, like, in a very vivid way. Like, you show someone a number and they're like, that number is pink or that number is green. I don't have that, and so it's so hard for me to understand what that is like. Humans, there's a Star Trek phrase that communicates this really well. It's like a Vulcan idiom. What is it? It's infinite diversity through endless combination, or something like that. It's good. It's incredible, but it's such an interesting thing to hear about the different ways that we perceive things. Rhiannon, you have a very strong monologue. You can create audio in your head easily, but you can't visualize at all. I'm more like you in that way. I'm similar. And it's gotten worse since I started streaming. I'm way more likely to voice things to myself when I'm alone now than I used to be. Enter Chainsaw, dude, huge respect for using C# and Godot. Hey, Enter Chainsaw. How's it going? Yeah, thank you. We are working on, like, an FTL style game in isometric 2D in Godot. It's kind of a simulation heavy game, so we've actually decided to split the rendering layer in Godot from the simulation layer in C#. So we do all of our simulating with, like, very lightweight simulation objects. And the Godot side of things handles, like, UI and rendering. So Godot sends the UI data, the simulation layer, like, crunches on it, works out what should happen, and then the simulation layer sends back what should be rendered. And right now we're setting up rendering draw calls directly using CanvasItem. Instead of having, like, a very chaotic changeable scene tree, we're trying to get a very stable final, lightweight, only rendering what we need to render kind of deal. But yeah, C# and Godot, it's fine. It's getting better every day. If you need to do a game jam, don't do it in C#. Just accept the GD script is actually not that bad, and make a standard project. If you're doing a game jam, because if you're doing a game jam, you need a web build, and right now that's in my mind, the blocker for most people to use C# and Godot is they're like, I need a web build. And it's like, yeah, But that'll get fixed. It's not a permanent problem. It's temporary. That's so cool. What? Oh, thank you, Enter Chainsaw. I appreciate that. Hope you're having a happy Saturday here and a good weekend. This is kind of the end of our stream week here. We stream Tuesday through Saturday for a few hours each of those days, barring scheduling conflicts. So this is like our Friday for the stream, and we're chilling. We're having a good time. I hope you are as well. Appreciate you popping in the chat here. Yeah, Sapphire, I feel that. No. I'm interested, Sapphire. We have a shared experience in like our background in like the service industry. And I feel like that causes especially something that I have a hard time with now, which is that if I think like I will play out conversations in my head, like imagined and actual conflicts constantly. Like I will be imagining, and then it kind of haunts you afterward. It takes so long to like chill out from like a shift, especially a challenging shift when you've been dealing with a lot of people. I'm sure, especially if you have social anxiety, where it's like, I was explaining this to my partner last night, which is like, I feel like human beings have like a shock absorber for stress, because it's like if you're in a car and you're driving along the road, if you're just on leaf springs, you're bouncing like crazy, but you have a shock absorber in your car to like smooth out the changes from the leaf springs. And I feel like humans have that same thing with stress, where it's like we accumulate the stress slowly and we release it slowly just to prevent us from being on our leaf springs all the time. But yeah, it's hard. I had a hard day at work yesterday, and it really drove that home for me. Enter Chainsaw, you tried to use C# for Godot a couple months back, and trying to erase the muscle memory of Unity C# did not help your case. Oh, I feel you. I come from Unity too. I used Unity for over a decade, and I switched to Godot a couple years ago. Most of my games in Godot, I say most of my games, they're mostly jams. There's GD script and they're fine, but C# and Godot has been so great because Godot supports the newest versions of .NET and C# like as soon as they come out. So there's tools and fun stuff I get to use in C# that I never got to use in Unity because Unity was always so far behind on .NET. It's great. It's great. There's so many new tools that you can look up. I mean, I don't know what Unity is like nowadays. I haven't used Unity in a few years, but when I was using it, it was their C# support lagged so far behind. Sorry, this is like the most cinematic song that could have come on. Well, I'm just trying to have a conversation. Rhiannon Journey, your ADHD has you practicing conversations and reviewing them all the time. Yeah, I think that's like a required human thing. You imagine all kinds of arguments that never actually happen. And if they were to happen, you would never actually follow through with any of the imagined points. Yeah, true. I think the simulation is really important for someone with any level of social anxiety. I think it's really important to, even if you never use any of your arguments, like simulating those is so critical to me. Like I don't practice speeches very much. Like even when I have to present something, I usually am very off the cuff, which I think is why I've taken to streaming pretty easily. I'm not great at streaming, but like I feel like I have a natural flow. Like it's not agonizing to me anymore. And but that simulation is needed. All right, whoop, we didn't want that. We wanted something else. So we're going to send the CanvasItem drop params. We were going to send it per index, but we're not going to do that anymore. So we're going to do the same kind of thing that we did with the tile drawing system, I think, which is that we are going to have... We're going to have to create a header and build a header into the system. And right now, I think I'm going to hard code that header. I think that's what we're going to do. This is how we used to do it. The way I did it here is we had like a final, we'd add an extra index, which was like, so I guess we'll have a header that's 192. So that can just be 60 board size. So we'll have a header that's the board size. And then we'll have a body that is the board size times 16. Do we want to encode the header in shorts or in byte form? We don't need a header that's bigger than 255 right now, but I could see us doing so, which makes me not necessarily want to. I mean, we're just saving a handful of bytes. Maybe I don't care. Maybe it'd be better for consistency to be able to do it. Let me look at the decoding. The Godot decoding is really good. Decoding packed byte arrays. Or if I sound a little scratchy today. I'm definitely, it's been dry and it's so dry and cold out here. I'll make some tea later. Just water right now though. I'll get some more water next to add. Hey, bad cop, what's up? Are you big moding right now? When does big mode jam? No. Yeah, I'm not doing any jams until down to jam, I think. I think that'll be my first jam of the year. There's a lot of big jams going on right now. Alright, so what we did here, the old one. This feels like the old one. But that's kind of right. So what did we do? What did we do for this thing? I need to find the thing that did this. Was it block space? Okay, yeah, block space. I had a linear version of this and a multi-threaded version of this, and we'll set ourselves up for the linear one first, but I want to have a similar workflow so that we can change it and potentially take advantage of the worker thread pool if we're able to do it in a way that's good. Because if anything qualifies to be run as a high priority group task on the main in the worker thread pool, it would be updating the CanvasItem draws. It's going right now. You're too lazy. You're consulting at that startup, which is kind of like a jam. Yeah, startup is like a jam. That's cool. Consultant bad cop. What's your consulting style? Is it good cop or bad cop? Hey, welcome back, Magoo. Oh, sorry, Chainsaw. I see your message over on YouTube. Sorry, I got a couple. We're also multi-streaming on Twitch, and I don't always see messages. So let me see. What you're asking a question? Do you think GDScript is powerful enough for primary usage in a 3D project? Yeah. Yes. Short answer, yes. GDScript is really good. Hey, Casper Dragonwolf, also coming in with a yes. How's it going? Yeah, GDScript is very good if most of what you're going to be doing is just API calls to the engine, which is most of what you do in a scripting language. As long as you're not doing a lot of crazy heavy scripting where you're just trying to rely on like the raw power of like of GDScript. GDScript is fine because GDScript is backed. All of those API calls to the engine, all of those are in C++. Those are all native. Like GDScript is good. I don't think the reason you should switch to C# should be like performance oriented. I think it should be like depends on what you want to do and your familiarity with the language and your reluctance to learn a new one. Like, I think your own personal preference is a sufficient reason to use one or the other. I don't think it's crazy. If you're ever doing something in GDScript and you're like, this needs to be way faster, you could use GD extension to kind of write your own little kind of API call that you can then call from GDScript, and it will run, you know, C++ code if performance is ever that big an issue. Bash.consulting for AI consulting needs. That's great. No links. No, links are fine. Link responsibly. The rules are I actually don't remember the official list of the rules, but I have them written down. It's short because I can't remember it. It's be excellent to each other, keep it on topic, no spam, and share content responsibly. It might say share links responsibly on Twitch specifically, but yeah, links are fine, whether they're jokes or real. I take no liability for any links that have been shared in chat. Casper, Road to Vostok is done completely with GDScript. Yeah, and that's a 3D game. Road to Vostok. Survival game. Hardcore single-player survival game set in a post-apocalyptic border zone between Finland and Russia. Oh, I haven't heard of this. Let's take a look at this. This looks cool. How's it going, Casper? Bigorize it a little bit. This is very much not for me. A tailored experience for those survival game enthusiasts who seek unforgiving gameplay, replayability, and realistic FPS mechanics. I mean, I liked Arc Raiders, don't get me wrong. But this is crazy. And this is all Godot? Rad. They revealed this in 2022. Where are they at now? Are they still in early access? Yeah, Q. Oh no, this is 2025. Where are they? Oh yeah, release candidate 1. Early access. Oh, okay. They're on their way to Steam early access. Sick. Good for them. That's rad. Yeah, PVKK is also a good example. I mean, PVKK kind of cheats a little because it seems like it's a very like constrained environment. But that's like my favorite example of like a gorgeous 3D game made in Godot, right? Like this is wild. Look at all this. I'm gonna eat this game up. Oh yeah. Oh wow. Road to Vostok's done by a solo developer. Hey, Murky. I see you. Reason for you to use GDScript is that using C#, using the mono version of Godot, adds a noticeable amount of extra startup time when running the game, at least when you test it with 4.5. Oh, that may be true. I haven't really noticed that, but my quote-unquote game is pretty lightweight at the moment. I say quote-unquote game because it's really just a pile of tools right now. And a pile is generous. Calling it a pile is very generous. All right. PVKK, it looks so good. This is Godot. Look at that. Oh, look at that. Oh, Road to Vostok was being done in Unity and it switched to Godot. Nice. Good call. Good call. Megacrit did that with Slay the Spire 2. Excited to play that as well. Yeah, that's PVKK is going to be really good. I love crazy long German names like that. It's so funny. I'm not going to try to pronounce it. All right, so we're going to implement something like this, where we send all the tilemap data in as a single packed byte array. We set it. And then we unpack it. And in fact, the unpack is not going to be immediately called. All we actually really need to do is set it. Well, actually, no. If we're going to do it this way, let's... Tile map data, logged. Okay, so this doesn't actually do any processing. All it's going to do... Okay, yeah. So on the tile map mosaic side, what we're going to have is it's just going to have a parameter that's called, like... We'll just use the same name we're using everywhere. CanvasItem draw params. It's going to be a packed byte array. And then if I want to do a set for that... I never remember the GDScript syntax. I like GDScript. It serves me plenty well in any game jam. But I never remember it. All right, we'll just have a set value. We'll say array. And we'll do a queue redraw. We'll just do the same, that basic, super basic thing, which we'll say canvas item draw params equals array. And then we'll say queue redraw. And then so we'll separately have set up a func draw. And this is where we can put all our draw logic. And it will just operate on this. I might shorten this name. Hey, Valor, what's FTL like? It's good. No, what's an FTL like? It's a game based on something like FTL Faster Than Light on Steam, which apparently it's on sale for $3.49. Just need about $3.50. And it is a game about starship management. It's kind of an abstract, somewhat abstract crew and systems management game where you're managing your little ship crew. You're managing the deployment and like power management, like how you're using your ship systems. You're making little dialogue choices on like a little roguelike kind of journey. You're fighting other ships and very often dying. We're kind of making our own take on this. That's the idea. We're doing a kind of isometric 2D kind of take on this. And we're working on a new rendering pipeline process kind of deal that we're hoping is going to be very performant because we want this to be very lightweight. Def worth the money? Yeah, for $3.49, FTL is definitely worth that. For sure. What was I doing? Stuff. Oh, I was doing stuff in Godot. So here's what we'll do our CanvasItem stuff. So how do we want to do this? Do this. So we need, so if we're going to split up these parameter groups by like slicing out this array, which is nice because that actually adds a kind of breakpoint, because the whole reason we're trying to chain this very carefully is like when we're in this fixed scope, we've declared our primitive byte array, we've packed it up, and then we send it over to Godot to be processed. This is the tile version, but it works the same way. The tile version sends it over, it gets unpacked, and then in that mode, that unpacking was like the whole thing. But in this CanvasItem mode, there will then, when we do that unpacking, we queue a redraw. But that's it. So then we can kind of release it back to this, exit the fixed scope so that byte array can get collected now. But we've already sliced out the portions, all the portions of the array that we need, and the slice action itself is like an array copy. So we are copying basically the whole contents of this thing, but hopefully we're doing it this way. We do it once and not twice. Because the unfortunate thing is if we do it twice, which is why we're kind of going out of our way here. Nice. Thank you, Valor. I appreciate that. I hope you're having a fine Saturday here. This is where we're going to do our relay. So what did we call it? We said like game. We said like send CanvasItem drop params. So this part is where this isn't going to work. So we need to kind of do this a little differently. Like we can't send it an index. We need to do the whole thing. So instead of doing it this way, we'll need to do this in a loop. Then we'll need to calculate like the set of headers and the values for those headers. And then we'll need to go through this part, essentially. Oh, this kind of sucks. I guess we'll do a loop in here. Maybe we don't need to do this span thing at first. Maybe we can do that in the hot loop here. Yeah, because at first, all we actually really need to do is know about the lengths of the individual draw arrays. So we can just loop through, get the lengths, use those to figure out the headers. And then we're good. Then we're good, I think. Valor, so you're using C#. At what point do you think GDScript is just not enough and you have to switch over? I don't think that's almost ever true. I think the reason why you would use one or the other is really based on your personal preference. I think GDScript is very capable. People throw numbers around where they're like, C# is 3 to 4 times as powerful as GDScript. And it's like, those tests are usually very specific and narrow, and it will just be like running a loop. That's not actually a practical comparison, because in practical terms, most of what you're doing when you're scripting is like you're making API calls to the engine, and API calls to the engine from GDScript are better than API calls to the engine from C#, because anytime you're calling into the engine is native, C# is managed. So anytime you do this call, you're paying some amount of marshalling. Things need to be, converted over in a lot of cases. They need to be copied over or blah, blah, blah. I'm not an expert on marshalling and crossing that domain, but it can be kind of rough. So we're taking a number of steps to try to avoid that cost. But yeah, I don't think there's almost ever a reason you'd have to switch over for that purpose. I think it's time to head out. All right, take it easy, Sapphire. You Mario, C# is just like C++, and then it allows for faster raw operational power. Not as fast as C++. It has more speed than GDScript, more capabilities to handle low-level memory over GDScript. Yeah, it does. That's true. I'd say if you're looking for that kind of speed and you can write C, if you're comfortable with C++, I'm not comfortable with C++, so that wasn't an option for me. But if I was comfortable with C++ and I needed more speed out of GDScript, you don't go to C#. You write a GD extension, which allows you to write your own C++ code and bind it. And then so if you have functions that need to be fast in GDScript, you can just write your own little bit of C++ code that handles that part that needs to be fast. So you can apply the power when you need it with something like GD extension without having to make the compromise of switching everything over to C#. I'd say the use of C# in Godot is niche and is very individual. I think it's really just all of us Unity refugees looking for a new engine and being unwilling to learn GDScript. Or just being more comfortable in C#, you know? Because a lot of people will switch to Godot from Unity and be like, I have this huge code base that I don't want to lose. Like, I think Sorcery Story was in that position. And Sorcery Story managed to convert most of their code, this whole big framework of code that they've written over the years in Unity, to work with Godot, because you only need to change a few parts, the parts that like interact with the engine. So I think it's very much based on the individual. I would avoid making generalizations to say like one is slow and one is fast and one is always better than the other. Magoo, chat, shall I make a language to combine GDScript and and C#? Yeah, good. Rhiannon, you just hate white space dependent languages? That's fair. Hey, Sorcerer. How's it going? Yeah, I don't know if I love the structure of GDScript. It's interesting, but it's weird. I don't like tab. I don't like actually controlling the flow of my program with tabs. I want to use tabs aesthetically, and that's it. Oh, hey Casper. All right, you're a Mario. Sick. I appreciate you. Boosting my stats here with the double dip. Mario, you use both C# and GDScript. You use C# because you have a wider access to various libraries instead of having to be written in GDScript. That's a great reason to do it too. Utilize a library. People have written bindings for things in C++ too that you could use. Like, you don't have to write your own ECS. If you like using ECS, but you also want to use GDScript, someone has written like bindings for Flex or probably some other ECS libraries. So like you can set that stuff up. That stuff's out there. If you're like, man, I want an ECS, but I also want to use GDScript. People have made it. If you can imagine it, someone's built it. Sorcerer, you're a Python fan. It looks nice. Rhiannon, part of you wants to make PHP bindings for Godot, but that would be an abomination. I don't know. I can neither confirm nor deny that one. Magoo, you don't like that it's dynamically interpreted. I'm not sure exactly which language you're referring to, but I also don't like dynamic languages. I like compile time errors. I don't like runtime errors. Runtime errors are rough, and when you're in like JavaScript or something, and like what should be an obvious compile time error becomes a runtime error, I get so frustrated. GD is interpreted. Oh, that makes sense. It's like a scripting language. Its error detection is pretty good though. The debugging in Godot is actually quite fine, I find. Like stack tracing and stuff. I haven't had a hard time debugging GDScript. Just don't write errors. True. That is the strat. Have you ever worked on a 3D project in Godot before? Yes, 2. Recently, in the last year or 2. We did. They're on my itch page, which you can get through my link tree. I did a little driving game called Mini Delivery, and I did a reverse farming game called Grave Escape. And I thought it was all right. I like Godot in 3D. I think it's fine. I think Godot really shines in 2D, though. I think 2D is where Godot is, like, perfect. All right, so what are we doing? We're going to send the CanvasItem draw params, but we got to do it at the very end. We'll just send bytes. So we're going to do this once. That's the trick here. How are we doing this in the tile drawing system? I think what I do is I go through each layer. This is going to be a little messy. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to handle semi-transparent Cs. We might just draw them over. We might just give semi-transparencies like a Y-sort value or something. Or we could give it some kind of modulate and use that to detect. Because anything that has like a semi-transparent modulate should be getting drawn over opaque terrain that's otherwise in the same space. So we have some neat options for drawing overlays without needing a separate layer. Sorcerer, what you want to know is what situation causes devs to drop into C++ with Godot. Is that a thing that comes up much? It can. It can. You might want to do some like really heavy lifting. You might want to implement some kind of algorithm, quote unquote, to do something. Like you're like, let me implement. I don't know what a good example would be actually. But there might be some kind of like big heavy duty algorithm you want to implement that would be slow in GDScript. And you could just implement it as a little C++ kind of module, like with GD extension. And if you need to use that function, you just call it from GDScript and you get all the C++ speed without having to do anything else. Yeah, I don't have a good example because that's not my process. I'm not a C++ programmer. But I've definitely seen people do that where it's one of those things where it's like you kind of wait until you see you have a problem. Rather than like presuppose it's going to be a problem. I guess people with a lot of experience can presuppose. Oh, Mario, you're working on like a Rust Valheim type game? That's sick. my friend group has had a Valheim server that I host for ever since like the pandemic. Maybe a little after, ever since like 2021 or something. It's been like 5 years or something. But it's so good. I love Valheim. It's been really fun. Kind of glad I got into it while it was in early access. I usually don't, but I kind of do. Kind of glad. Murky, you had to do that the other time for a typing game. Oh, okay. Reading in a text file with 100,000 lines of words and doing some processing in a function to get a word from that list with some criteria. That's a great context. Yeah, because you're doing something that you want to like. You're like stream processing, like a huge number of things. You gotta lurk. All right, Rhiannon, take it easy. The OS dev Magoo comes in and is like, game devs talking about funny languages. I'm sorry, Magoo. You're down there in the low level, and we're up here. We're up here in the clouds. Oh, Mario, you also work on a Godot manager, a project engine plugin manager. Oh, cool. Oh, you got a Twitch plays kind of thing? Falloneer Fantasy? I know Falloneer. I'm in the indie game developers stream team. That's cool. The get word function with GDScript took like 10 milliseconds. Yeah, I could see that. You'd hope so. I'm on the indie game dev stream team. Yeah, exactly. Falloneer's good. Yeah, so what do I want to do here? So we're going to have, so the first value in the header is just the size of the header. Easy. And then every value after that is the value of where that layer starts in the body. And then we're going to have an extra value at the end, which is essentially the size of the whole thing, kind of incidentally. Oh, well, that kind of makes me question. Oh, no, the first value is the size of the header. The last value of the header is the size of the whole thing, which makes sense. There's a reason why I'm going to do it this way, which is to make it easy to iterate through all of them and know when a layer begins and ends, just for splitting it out. I'm not going to do this whole indices confusing thing, though. I'll try to come up with a better way to write this here. So what we do here, add all the layers starting indices as a header to the packed data, sure. Oh yeah, so that's what I did, is we don't need to do that though, because we actually have an array of lists. And all we really need to do is know the size of each of those lists. And so actually we could go in at once. We can actually iterate through this and actually, because we're going to go layer by layer. So all you really need to know is like where the next layer is starting. Do that layer, go to the next layer, starting. Okay. I think I have an idea how to do this. I should know. I already did this once. So what we're going to do, I guess we will do this the same way. We're going to say variable index equals 0 here. Oh, no, it's this. It's the skip the header here. Variable indices is a new, so we declare this. We don't need to do this part though, right? Unless we want to record the indexes. But we don't need to. Hey, Arneo. Alright, we're focusing in a little bit here. Hope everyone's having a good day. Okay, so we're counting this so that we know what the end is, but that's fine. So we can go from I is 0 through I is less than this count, which I know to be 192 because that's what we're doing. We're doing 64 times 3 essentially. Because the body is, or the number of canvas items there are is 64 plus 63 plus 63, which is 190. And then we're going to have one value for the beginning, which tells us the header length. And then we'll have one value at the end, which essentially gives us the size of the array. But is it giving us the size in bytes? Yes, it should. Okay, I really should just do what I have here, but I'm going to make it complicated. So I know we're going to iterate through. Are we going to iterate through out here, or can we do it inside? Real question is, can I declare this out here and then do all of the work in here in this context and do it once easily? So here is I equals 0, I is list and draw calls dot length, I plus plus. So that's our inner I. We want an outer I think. We want like a for variable I. Well, so let's rename this II. Actually, let's use our actual tools here to do this intelligently. This is how I do nested loops. Don't yell at me. I just add more I's. I find that I make less mistakes when I do it this way, when I do Roman numeral style. What OS y'all using? I am a Windows 11 person just because, you know, I'm a game dev and I play games and I don't think too hard. But I am going to convert my 2 old Windows 10 PCs. I've replaced them now. I built the new ones. One of them is just sitting up dormant next to me, but they're both built. And so I'm going to pull my old computers that can't ever go to Windows 11 and I'm going to put Linux on them. I think I've decided I'm just going to put I think I'm going to start with Kubuntu. Because I like that KDE Plasma look, but I also want like the reliability and stability of Ubuntu. I don't want to learn GNOME. And I think I'm going to set those up. I say soon, it's when I have time. Y'all seem real. Casper Dragon Wolf and Mr. Magoo, y'all seem to really know your stuff. Sorcerer 2. Arneo. We're still at the time where we're enamored with tech company CEOs. We tolerate a lot for charisma. I mean, I don't want to compare people like Steve Jobs, RIP, to like Elon. They're very different. Steve Jobs actually had ideas of his own. I don't want to get into that. You know who we worship here? The Woz. Hey, it's 2Bob. Kubuntu is KDE Plasma default. Yeah, exactly. It's like it's a supported version of that. It's by the same team that is maintaining Ubuntu right now, is my understanding. What's their name? Canonical or something? Yeah, the Woz. The favored son of San Jose. I'm from San Jose originally, and the Woz is literally like our favored son. Our favorite son. He's so good. He's a real one. He's what these kinds of people should be. He's so charitable and generous, and like not in the kind of like, let me set up a foundation that's a for-profit company so that like my foundation can make money off of its investments so that I don't have to put more money into it, which is like, I understand that, but we're getting off topic. We're gonna get, it's because I'm afraid of what I'm currently doing. So I'm looking for an excuse to talk about something else. But I don't want to get into like, you know, into this too much. People are giving me Kubuntu advice, which is good, which I actually do want, because I only this morning was looking over like, do I want KDE Neon? Do I want Kubuntu? Ubuntu is KDE, but it's not really kept up to date. It's locked in. Yes, the KDE part is updated along with when the Ubuntu is updated, which for me, that stability is good. Like I could do KDE Neon if I wanted all the newest KDE stuff all the time while still having a Ubuntu LTS. But I don't want that. I don't want some update coming out of KDE to just like break all my shit like every month. I am like such a newbie, and I'm gonna favor stability. You Zorg. You're just saying words at me. You Zorg. I don't know what Zorg. Zorg is a villain from the Fifth Element. I will not use Zorg. He's a bad guy. I love you, Gary Oldman. Y'all are super experienced and you're giving me super experienced advice. I'm not there. I also don't have the time to maintain these systems. This is just supposed to be for fun. But yeah, I want to set up, I'm going to get started on my little home lab. As far as I'm going to start, I'm going to have a little Ubuntu box sitting and we'll see what I set up with it. We'll see if I set some file system stuff up. Maybe I do a Plex or something. I'm going to be trying different stuff out. I'll give the stream updates as I try stuff out, but it's going to be all very, very simple, basic stuff. Similarly, Wayland, isn't Wayland the villains from like Aliens? Why is everyone using these horrible names for their companies or whatever? like the Palantir or whatever. Hey, Bob, you used to run Slackware by default and you moved to Mint. Oh, you're on Mint? That sounds cool. Yeah, y'all seem to know your stuff. Everyone, there's a very lively Linux discussion happening on the Twitch chat. Arneo, let's get a rundown on the history of the Silicon Valley and an essay on the pros and cons of private equity run tech companies becoming powerful political actors in the modern age. I have plenty of history books on the history of Silicon Valley. I mean, I grew up there. I actually kind of like that history. I like the history of Fairchild Semiconductor and how that kind of just grew out into the whole thing. It's a fascinating time. That was the like 70s and 80s in the nascent Silicon Valley. As was previously the Garden of Earthly Delights, became Silicon Valley. All right, we're in ads. I'm going to be right back. I need to get some water. I appreciate you all hanging out with me. Ever read Fire in the Valley? That's one of the books I'm talking about. I have that on my bookshelf. That's a good one. I recommend Fire in the Valley. BRB. Hey, shout out to NanoDev. If we're talking about the same NanoDev. Welcome back. Ads are over. We've returned. We are no longer under the great shadow of the great beast flying overhead, Bezos. The great beast Bezos. It's like he's Smog and we're like Lake Town or whatever. What's it called? Lake Town? Me use in your GitHub? Yeah, links are fine. We will evaluate people who put links in based on the quality and responsibility of the links. No, we don't care about the quality, but yeah, share links responsibly. That goes for the people who post them, and that goes for people who click on random links that people are posting in Twitch chat. Don't click on a random link in Twitch chat unless you mean it. I take no responsibility. I will ban anybody who posts like a malicious link in chat, obviously. But I'm not gonna. We're a small enough channel that I don't have to just outright restrict people from being able to do it. I'm happy for you to share your GitHub, Magoo. Magoo is making an OS from scratch, an operating system from scratch. It's really cool stuff. We have multiple people working on like languages and OSs and stuff, and or compilers at least. And I don't know why. I don't know why y'all gravitate towards me. I am like the most like script kiddie programmer that you will ever meet. No, that's an exaggeration. Let me be self-deprecating, because then it's okay. If I'm not a real programmer, then it's okay when I write bad code. But if I was a real programmer and I wrote bad code, that would be, my ego wouldn't be able to handle that. That's the trick when you're a game dev, especially if you're a solo game dev. You can be like, I make art, I'm not an artist. I make sounds, I'm not a sound engineer. I write code, I'm not a programmer. You can insulate your ego from like these wounds. The only thing you can't do is if the game is bad, there's nowhere to go. If the game is bad, you can't be like, well, I'm not a game developer. So there's only so much you can insulate yourself from that. It can be tough. It can be tough. People have been very kind to me overall. People have been very sweet. Arneo, you make games, you're not a game dev. You know, if that works for you, the final justification for doing something or not doing something for any individual is ultimately like whatever lets you sleep at night. I'm actually totally fine with amateurism. I know a lot of people don't like amateurism. They feel like it cheapens whatever profession. Like, I totally appreciate the people that are like, I do this professionally. I'm a professional. I should get paid like a professional. I'm like all about that for other people, but I'm fine with my own. I like a personal level of amateurishness, because that's part of how I think I personally capture a lot of the passion, which is part of the reason I've never really pursued game dev as like a day job, because I feel like it would really transform my relationship to the work. And I'm not sure I'm willing to accept that at the moment. I think eventually you have no choice and you kind of go, you gotta go in if you're trying to make a commercial product. But I'm at least at the point in my life where I can just tell myself I'm an amateur, and that it's okay to be an amateur, and that there is joy in amateur endeavors. Not everything needs to be about squeezing a buck, you know? All right, so what I've decided is I'm going to try to do this all inside here. Inside the fixed scope. We'll do this once. We'll cast it once. The reason why we have this preliminary part is because we're recording the indexes when the layers start. But I feel like I could do this on the fly. I don't feel like I need to calculate this at this time. NanoDev is an ambiguous Google search. Yeah, there's a Twitch streamer named NanoDev that I'm familiar with. There's probably more than one NanoDev. Arnio, what drives someone to make an OS? That's a good question. That's a good question. It might just be Nano here on Twitch. I don't remember. I think it might also be a weird character. I think it might also be using a non-standard character for one of the letters. I don't remember. I haven't seen Nano in a minute. Nano Byte Dev? Okay, that's someone else. I don't think that's the Nano Dev that I know. They sound nice, though. They sound like they know their stuff. Although, I don't know. Maybe Nano Dev's not on Twitch anymore. The Nano I know. The Nano I know. Sounds like a biography. No. All right. So yeah, I think I can get away with not doing this until later. We need to know the indices, but we can just have a running tally as we go along. This feels unnecessary. The reason why we maybe do this is so that we actually know the value of this. So I guess we have to iterate through the list at least once anyway, because we need to know how big this thing is going to be. I guess that's a reason to do it, to just do it and get it over with. For people who are new, we're making an isometric 2D kind of FTL-like in Godot. Succeeded false. There's an error somewhere. Game 103, 109. Well, we're switching over from a tile map layer based rendering to just a CanvasItem draw based rendering, which is a little lower level. I'm hoping it'll be a unified rendering process. That means we can interleave background elements with more active elements like crew members running around. Whereas what we've got going right now is really just environment only because it's all tile map layer based. So we can build out these like 3D spaces. And the system's pretty smart about knowing where you are in space. It's not perfect, but it's pretty smart. And you can also overwrite it if you want. Like, you can control this stuff directly if you want to kind of figure it out yourself. Or you can just let the thing do it for you. Like, you could also just do... Something has happened with the block placement. We're seeing some block placement issues again. I added some kind of breaking thing. I saw a ghost block for a second, which lets me know there's some kind of like issue where it's reading out the end of a sequence before it's actually done, which is not good. Like a sequence of inputs. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just kind of demonstrating what we've got. So we've got like a pseudo 3D isometric space that we're drawing out, and then we can render with this auto tiler. This is all being auto tiled, if that isn't obvious. Yeah, we're working on, and right now this is too slow when making changes at scale. You can kind of see it when I do something like this. The worst case scenario is just straight up too slow, so we're working on a different alternative rendering process that will hopefully be better. That's kind of what we're working on right now, and we're getting pretty close to actually being able to test it. It'll be a real bummer if we don't actually test it. Hey, Vamuse! This has come a long way. Oh, I mean, we've been able to do that, what I just showed, for a while. We're trying to recreate that in another process. You haven't even seen the cutaway. Well, you might have seen the cutaway system. There's also a system in place that lets you peel away rooms. So, like, if you want to look into a room that's a sealed object, you can do it. Like, I didn't demo it because it's not working with the current rendering system, but Vamuse, I'm new. Tell me about your project. Appreciate you. I appreciate you being the plant in the crowd. Nice to meet you. So being an OS dev is like being a Sith Lord, Arneo? That's funny. And Magoo is like, it's a lot more like being unemployed. That sounds right. Funny stuff. How's it going, Vimuse? Yeah, we're getting close. I think we're getting close to be able to swap out and attempt this new rendering. It's going to be wrong. It's going to look so wrong. I'll actually be kind of relieved if we don't actually test it much. I feel like I will appreciate being able to test it myself a bit. Get it looking right. What we're doing right now is we're getting ready to send... We've decided we need to send all of the data over at once. And then split it up so that it's ready for the next draw call. And so let's think about it on this side. So on the Godot side, so on the at the top level, we have this tile mosaics node, and that holds all the individual mosaics. At the moment, there's 190 of them. I can see a world where we add a foreground and a background. Right now, we just have 190. That's all we need. That's all we need to have one canvas item for each Z index in the camera space. So here are my Z indexes for a 4x4x4 grid. There's Z index 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, which means 10. So there's 10 of those, which you can get by saying 4 plus 3 plus 3. Because these are essentially based on the Manhattan distance of them. So it's like any tile. So you basically start at the origin. You start at 0. You can add 3. And then add another 3, and then add another 3, and you get from 0, to 9. And so our use case is a little bigger. We actually have a 64 by 64 by 64 space, which means we have 190 of these instead of just 9. But the principle is the same. And each of these Z layers is going to have its own canvas item for drawing. And then within each canvas item for drawing, we can do some Y sorting, which is how we're going to interleave moving characters with the environment in a way that's cohesive. I like doing this. Sorry, I spent a lot of time at the top of the stream diagramming this. I'm having too much fun. The Muse. This is what you like about watching someone else dev. You just pop in every once in a while and the game has more skin. That's the nice thing, right? You pop in every few weeks or even every other month or something like that. It's mind-blowing. And I love getting that perspective from people. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love my day ones who are here every day for me. But it's really nice to hear someone come in every once in a while and like tell me I'm making progress, because when you're doing this every day, you don't see the progress. You do not see the progress when you're working on this every day. It's impossible. You're too close to it, right? But it's really good. It's really good to get that outside perspective. So I appreciate that. Thanks for being here. And thanks for being here not too often. Yeah, when you're in the weeds, it's like, is this even good? Yeah. Yeah, thank you for providing occasional interest in my work. All right, so this thing is going to handle the relay. So this is going to get all of these. We are taking away this index. We're not going to have the index anymore. We might. I guess there'll actually be a multi-threaded version of this, which might actually have a per index, but Hey, Max not work. You just joined for the first time. You got to say it's huge progress from before you knew about the project. Thank you, Max. Thank you, Max. Yeah, it does feel like huge progress. We're making an FTL-like, kind of isometric 2D FTL-like, kind of like think a mashup between like FTL and maybe something like RimWorld. So it's got that kind of, it's going to be slower paced. It's going to be a little bigger, but we're still trying to capture some of that starship management stuff. And we're doing this in Godot. Wouldn't you know? He's doing it in Godot. Happy Saturday. Now you're off. You'll be back in a few weeks. Yeah, no worries. I know. You're funny. You love the idea? Thank you, Max. I hope you're having a fine weekend here. Appreciate you stopping by. Appreciate you taking the chance on a new channel here. All right, so what we're doing now, I showed this. I'll show it very briefly again. We are switching from a tile map layer rendering style to a CanvasItem rendering style. The tile map rendering style is too slow. It's too slow. Here, I'll make something a little different. It's especially too slow at scale, like when we're working on a large scale. Ooh, that didn't work. I'm having some issues where if I prematurely let go of the override, the like Z-level override, weird stuff is happening. So you can build compartments like this. And we have a cutaway system so that you can peer into sealed compartments. It doesn't work right now, but we do have it. So you can build these, you know, layers of ship rooms and compartments, and this is how we're going to build. Yeah, there's weird stuff happening though. There's something that happens where if I hit WASD while I'm laying something down, the camera like freaks out. I can't figure out what that is. I think it's interacting with the Z level changing. And there's some old code that would cause the camera to move when that happened. I'm gonna figure out what that's about. But that's not the problem we're working on today, so we're gonna pretend it's not real. Like RimWorld, you can't wait to see a whole crew of alcoholic cannibals. I'm gonna do it. It's gonna be a little like RimWorld. Don't get your hopes up. We're not making Dwarf Fortress here, but it's gonna be. I think what I'm gonna pull from RimWorld is some of the characterized character differentiation, because like you can see my drawing style. These people are not gonna look that different from each other. They're gonna look like pawns. It's not gonna be like, you know, FTL where you have different like alien factions. I don't know if I can do that. I'm not a huge pixel artist, not like Bemuse. So I think there's going to be a little bit more, imagine more of the like some of the personality stuff from RimWorld. I want some of that, and I want some of the pacing from RimWorld. I want something a little slower than FTL, because FTL is very fast. They're both punishing. I would say RimWorld and FTL are equally punishing. But I want a more relaxed vibe. Like, I would love for your ship to have like a mess hall and like crew quarters. Like, I would like for it to be a slow enough game that you actually think about what your crew members are doing during their downtime. It's like the joke of like, there's no toilets on the Enterprise. Like, it's like, I actually want to see what it's like for these little crews in space. At a small scale, it'll probably be a lot like Firefly. And then as like you curve out in terms of power levels, you'll probably start to approach more of a Star Trek kind of scale. Obviously not a proper, like these aren't going to be huge ships, but I think you'll see more of that kind of an arc where when you're operating at like the end game, like high scale stuff, you'll have more militarized, larger scale crews. And when you're operating at the small scale, it'll be a lot more intimate and more like kind of quirky, smaller crews, like on the Firefly, like the ship Serenity in the show Firefly, which is a must watch. But yeah, whew, I'm out of breath. That's a pitch. That's something like a pitch. Sending you back to the beloved days of SimCity 2000. Those were good days, weren't they? Those were good stuff. I was reading about ISO City or something. There's like a open source SimCity game that's being developed. It looks cool. God, you love Firefly. You never finished it. How did you never finish that show? There's like 11 episodes in the whole show, and not even all of them aired on TV. Go back. Watch it. Did you need help with pixel art? I might someday. I might someday bemuse. In fairness, the studio also didn't finish Firefly. That is fair. Watch the movie. It'll get you back into it. Watch the Serenity film. You'll finish the Serenity film and be like, God, all I want to do is go back and watch the show. Which is neither good nor bad, you know, that feeling the need to do that after watching the movie. The movie's good, I think, but the show is better. You had a lot of anime to catch up on back in college. Fair, fair. You're an artistic soul. I could see the having an interest in anime. So we're getting a span of each of these draws. We're gonna do this in some kind of loop here. So in the individual draws. So this is gonna be a multi-layer thing. So we're gonna say for variable I equals 0, I is less than draws dot length. No, that's not right. Draws. No, that is right. So what we're going to do is do something like this. We'll get a span, because why not? Get that out of here. Yeah, and then now our only challenge is, okay, well then, like, what is the size of this? So we could say something like var variable size equals 0. I guess int size equals 0. Actually, do we know the size? No, we don't. We don't know the size. So we know the header size. So we could say the header. Hey, the Mr. Cat, add ferrets. Like space ferrets? That sounds kind of tempting. I watched Who Framed Roger Rabbit last weekend at the theater for this party. And they have those gangster weasels or whatever, right? But now I'm just imagining like space ferrets, like those gangster weasels. How's it going, Mr. Cat? Welcome in. Artistic soul translation weeb. Not my words. Not my words. Arneo, the film has one of your favorite long shots where it follows Mal through the ship, introduces all the characters as they interact with him. Oh yeah, that's like, I think that's the opening shot as they get ready for the heist. Yeah, that's a great intro. That whole intro is very good. Let's be bad guys. Too early for brain. Oh, it's early for you. It's about mid-afternoon for me here. We're kind of chilling. Or are you like a night owl? It's midday, but that's okay. Okay. All right. 30 minutes to midnight, Magoo. Well, I hope everyone is having a nice chill weekend here. Okay, so we need to know what size this byte's going to be. It's going to be the size of the header plus the size of all of the individual CanvasItem draw param lists. Is there another way? Here, I guess we just do this. We say z equals 0. I guess we can just say game.board.size dot x. Do I really want to do it this way? I'm going to do it this way. Should I hard code it? I don't think I should hard code it. Why rag? We rag? Why rag? Weirage. Sorry. I'm trying different names out. Let me know the phonetic pronunciation. Thank you for the follow. I kind of just try different ones until I structs. Oh wait, Godot don't do structs. No, they don't. We're in C#. GDScript does not do structs. We're still in Godot. We're just not in GDScript. All right, so we're going to figure out the size of this array by going through each of these. Should we be setting? We could easily be setting like an indexes list. But I also don't think we need to do that. So we could just ask draws I dot count or whatever. Here, we'll say. Oh, we want size. If this is the same thing here and I increment it, it will increment this thing. It's not like this argument doesn't get cached at the beginning, right? Actually, we'll call this the header. We'll say header is this. And then we'll just say the size is the header. Godot has C# now? Yes, it does. Yes, it does. WeRag is probably not the one. Yeah. I'm sorry. Why rag? Is it, the letter Y is actually really hard to decide how to pronounce sometimes. I didn't mean that negatively. I hope you didn't unfollow. All right, take it easy, Magoo. Yeah, ref counted is not. I wouldn't count a ref counted as a struct. You don't use Godot? Yeah, no worries. What do you normally use, Mr. Cat? Oh, Nova Muse. Just now while sitting there, you got a rejection letter for your job application? RIP. I'm sorry. All right, size can just be header. I guess we might as well set all the headers here. I'm not going to do Z. I'm going to say I. Could I say for each draw in draws? Yeah, I don't really want to do that. That's weird. So we're going to do here. All good. You didn't really want to work there anyway. Fair. It's a tough environment though. We're in the low fire environment, they say, which is hard to believe when Amazon, you know, lays off like 30,000 people in like 6 months or something. Mr. Cat, mostly just Unity or writing your own crap from the ground up. Oh, that sounds fun. Sounds fun. Yeah, there's some good, is it Mono develop or whatever? The thing that Concerned Ape uses. That looks fun if I just wanted to write raw C# stuff without an engine. I think it's Mono develop. fudge around with Python, mostly for Blender add-on stuff. Oh, neat. That's fun. All right, so what we can do is we can increment size. We can say size plus equals draws I dot count. All right, this would let us know. This we could just say size. Size times unsafe dot size of short times 16. It's not really size so much as count, is it? It's size of something, whatever. Size of the array. But what we also want to know. So that's something. What we also want to know is where the starting indexes are. So we need to set the header here. Before we do this, we need to set the headers. Or we need to at least set the initial header. Bad cop, can't wait for Dave to abandon JetBrains and make his own text editor. That way we have a level editor. That'd be funny. I was starting down the path of like basically rebuilding a sprite in Godot just so I could have like a little pixel art, like a block face editor inside the block map editor, and I was like, this is too much. If someone wants to make a new texture, they can go make a fucking new texture in a sprite. So yeah, I'm capable of walking back from the brink. I don't do it often, but I am capable. Casper, MonoDevelop isn't being developed anymore. It's either VS Code or Writer nowadays. No, MonoDevelop, I didn't think that was an IDE. I thought it was like a framework. I'd also be surprised to find out if it's, unless I'm thinking of something else. What was Concerned Ape contributing to? Oh, it's Mono Game, not MonoDevelop. My mistake. Excuse me. Mono Game is, I think, what I'm thinking of. I was just thinking of C# frameworks for building games. I think it's Mono Game. Yeah, it's not MonoDevelop. You're right. I was wrong about what I was talking about here. And Mono Game has support for Visual VS Code, JetBrains Writer, support for all cross-platform stuff. It's open source. It's free. It's also getting contributions from a lot of people. Mono Game. Why am I talking about it without sharing? Yeah, Mono Game seems cool. If I wasn't going to use an engine and I felt like I wanted to use C#, I would probably try this out. I don't know where they talk about where they've gotten a lot of funding from, but yeah, new sponsors. Yeah, Concerned Ape invested a bunch at the end of the year. Initial donation of 125K, ongoing monthly commitment. Super cool. Concerned Ape's so great. Concerned Ape feels like the Woz of game dev sometimes. What a nice guy. Mono Game is the best? Okay. Yeah, Mono Game is what you're thinking? Yeah, cool. Amuse, you just make a basic template in PNG and let players edit it locally if they want. Yeah. We made it a 3D editor too, Bad Cop. That's essentially what we're doing with our block editor. But yeah, no, we're luckily, thankfully we don't need to worry about meshes. But yeah, I mean, if you're making a game in 2D, just use Godot. Yeah, but what if we want a non-block? It's a good question. No, because then I would be making a voxel game, and I have a vehement ongoing argument with Zach and Sean that I am not making a voxel game. And so I can't do anything that would give them any additional ammunition for them to argue that I'm making a voxel game. Even if it just means making things more difficult for myself. All right. I should have such an easy time rebuilding this if I wanted to rebuild it the same way that I did it here, but for some reason I've decided to do it differently, even though there's really no reason to. All right, so I actually have an array of these indices, these starting indices. And it's really just the count times the field count plus 1. That's because there needs to be a format. There's a format. The first thing that comes in any tile map data is just a basic format value. We don't have that, so we are fine with that. We could store, instead of storing a whole block of headers, we could also reserve like an initial value for like, to just be like where it ends or something. I don't know. Who knows? Who cares? People label stuff as voxel without really understanding what voxel means. To be fair, my game is bumping up against that definition. I argue that it's not there. I think if you just look at the map editor, you're like, yeah, this is a voxel game. But like, no player is going to engage with this in a way that's like a voxel game. No one is going to be thinking of it in terms of voxels. It's just an easy. I just happen to have a 3D block structure to the map editor. I don't think anyone's gonna think of it that way, but yeah, I get what you mean. My argument is that there are no voxel games except Fugal. I think, in my opinion, the only voxel game is Fugal, which don't even try to spell. Let me see if I can get the Steam page. Fugal, F-U-G-L. In my opinion, this is the voxel game because it actually. It's like a voxel is supposed to be the 3D version of a pixel, right? So when this character turns around, it's like doing nearest neighbor stuff. It's like deciding which voxels to render. A voxel game that doesn't have axis-aligned character animation like this is, in my opinion, not a voxel game. This is a voxel game. No one does this. Everyone always has like mesh-based character stuff. To be fair, this would be really hard to do. Seagull get. All right, yeah, let's get out of here. Showcase the way that it redraws the character every time it turns. I like to see axis alignment. Yeah, you see how it picks what voxels it should be drawing. This is expensive. I've seen a couple other games do this, but yeah, this is not easy nor cheap in terms of like dealing with it from like collisions and animations and. But this is a voxel game, you know what I'm saying? Hot take over here. Hopefully the Hightail in the Minecraft community doesn't come out against me. I should probably stop talking about voxel games. Okay, that's just Cube World. Oh, does Cube World do something similar? I've never heard of Cube World, but if it actually does, yeah, I don't know if Cube World is actually doing what I'm describing, but I don't have experience with it, so I'm not gonna pass judgment. Arnia, that's an interesting idea. But there are pixel games with sub-pixel positioning and rotation. Would you not consider them pixel art games? There is a whole crazy, what's the right word? There is a whole taxonomy of what it means to be a pixel art game, and people get really upset with it. It's like trying to define roguelike. So I would say there's people that would argue that any sub-pixel positioning is not pixel art game material. We are not going to be doing any sub-pixel positioning, I don't think. Like, when someone moves in our game, they are going to move by a pixel. So I argue this will be a pixel art game, not a voxel game. It just happens to be represented in 3D using a block system. From a rendering standpoint, we're not messing around with that stuff. Is this game running on a 3D grid for real? A true voxel game would have a fixed grid and render 3D objects within it, right? Yeah, I mean, yeah, in my opinion, it's cheating when you just render a mesh, like a billboard mesh. But yeah, there's an underlying 3D grid to this for the ship hull stuff. Mr. Cat is the paradox of Xenoing us here. Not really. We can just Zeno's paradox is a great way where you can, if you define all your you can define a bunch of assumptions that are true and arrive at indefensible conclusions. And I'm always ready to do that. It's like a shorthand for like, I don't agree with any of the individual steps we're making that are being made in this argument, but I reject the conclusion. Thank you, shareholder value. Thank you for posting the rules. Be excellent to each other. Keep it on topic, no spam, and share content responsibly. That's it. What up? You're trying to read the shareholder agreement? You're funny. Have you been bringing value to the shareholders, or are you the embodiment of the value being brought to the shareholders? Thank you for the follow. I feel like we've totally given up on actually doing anything. I really want to finish writing this branch of code here, but we'll see if I actually get through it. So we're going to do this whole thing, and then we'll send it over. Yeah, that's what's going to happen. So let's get that scope correct here. And then so we have the size. What we don't have is the indexes of everything, which is what I want to store in the header. So before we do this... What if we did say Z? So I++ is not, or II is not going to be 0. II is going to be... Oh, I do want a data structure. I do want to record the indexes somewhere. I always go back and forth whether I like indices or indexes. I'm going to try indexes today. Actually, this could be header size, and I guess this could be header. Yeah, whatever. Indexes. Okay, so we have an empty array of indexes. We are keeping track of the size. I feel like we could just do this as index and keep it running. The running index. Instead of keeping track of the size. Then we're getting much closer to what I've got here, which I know works, and which is what I should be doing. Mr. Cat, you guess back in the day, old vector cabinets drew without any kind of quantization, just directing the beam. Like really old-fashioned rendering solutions, like stuff that my dad would use. What are they called? Like games that would play like when you'd get Space War on like let me see if I can remember the original system that ran on that Space War ran on. Oh yeah, that PDP-1. Stuff like that is neat. I don't know if that's what you're talking about, but it's really interesting to see some of those old vector graphics display things. I don't know anything about old computers like that. Shareholder value 10. You had a whole full week of shareholder value increasing. Now there's some time to watch your niche Twitch content about the same thing you did the entire week. Nice. Marky, at least the definition of what deserves to be called a pixel voxel game is not the important. Not that important. What really drives you insane is the completely useless genre tagging of Steam games. The important part is the argument, not the result of the argument. When are we gonna get the first like? Yeah, that's funny. Roguelike like. It's like vertexes or vertices. I know, that's exactly. And again, once again, the rule for all of this is whatever lets you sleep at night. But yeah, so we go through, okay, so the way this works, we set the initial index, which is the initial index of the body, right? Because this is where the header ends and the body starts, which it's like, this is the size of the header. Oh, no, it's not. It's actually 1 plus the size of the header. That doesn't make sense. Oh, it's because there's this extra value at the end. No? This is a little weird. For I equals 0, blah, blah, blah. Indexes. So we add this, and then we increment. And then we put one at the end, which is like the whole thing. Okay. Okay, let's do this the other way then. Let's say size is this. Well, and how do I declare this thing? Oh, the final index is the size. Right. Yes, right. Okay. I'm just going to copy this over. We'll just fix it. We're going to remove the comments so we're not tempted to try to understand what's going on here. So index. So instead of this, it is game.board.size plus game.board.size.y plus game.board.size.z. You use vertex singular, vertices plural. That's like that's kind of what I do. We're doing it in the context of index and indices, but yeah, I generally agree with you. You know what I struggle to actually do is I struggle to say die when I mean 1 dice. I struggle with that. That's a tough one. I think there are people that do that kind of categorizing with movies, Arneo. Yeah, Marquis. I mean, all of these systems are, all of their effort is being gone, yeah, Mr. Cat. Annoyingly, vertexes and vertices are both acceptable. I hate that. There should be one true answer. I'm kidding. I know we're all kidding. But yeah, Murky, all of these systems are, they spend all of their effort on trying to put people in boxes of like, this is what you'll like, this is what you won't like. All right, so indices. So this is going to be... So this is going to be index... Yeah, okay. This is going to be index. It's just index, right? You know what we probably should do? We should probably have like int like size equal this. Well, no, I don't think I care. I could say header. So we do this, we do this. We go through here. I is going to be less than index. I don't think this is quite right. I think I'm going to have an off by 1 error. Problem with vert and verts is that you end up saying stuff like vert, pervert. That was good. You got me. That's good. There is a problem like that, though, where I have like draws and then I have draws within draws. So if I say for each draw in draws, this array draws is actually an array of lists. And so even one draw from the array is multiple draws. It's like you don't always pack things up singular to plural. Like if you've got a list of lists situation, then sometimes it's really annoying and non-intuitive from how to go like linguistically from singular to plural or plural to singular. You really got me, Mr. Cat, with your verts joke. Hey, Sangi Med, how's it going? How's it doing? For this draw and draws, I know the problem is that draws is not like we have an array of lists. So if I replace this with for each draw and draws, this thing is actually would just say draw. But it's actually, there are multiple draws in here. Not only are there multiple parameters, but there's multiple draws. So it's just like a linguistic failing. If you have a collection, if you have a plural collection of a collection, that naming convention falls apart so fast. Language is confusing. But yeah, hey Sangi Med, how's it going? Happy Saturday. Murky, you would like functioning boxes to actually find similar games, but for Steam, every game seems to be every other game. I mean, we all know whose fault that is, and it's Chris Sikowski's. No, we love Chris. We love Chris Z. Okay, I don't need this +1 thing. So we can just say plus equals draws I. Because these are based on the same... No, these aren't based on the same. How's this going to work? I think this is actually I equals 1. I made this tough on myself for some reason. I guess that's why I have some of the... I guess that's why this is +2 and this is +1. Because the number of draw lists we have is actually 190. But the size of this header is 192. The first thing... So what we can do is we can say... Well, indices... Oh, yeah, I've done this in a weird way. You know what we should do is maybe we don't store... Maybe we do. Maybe we do store it like this. So this is this. And then what we're going to do is we're going to say indices 0 equals index. Can we do it like this? Can we do it? Can we do it? For a start, that's drawers. No, it's not. That's funny. That's funny. No, yeah, when you hear draws, you think of Underwear Bemuse, and Mr. Cat's like, that's drawers. Hey, Locke, do you have any specific advice on architecture? You mean like project architecture? I assume you mean like, do you mean code architecture or like how to organize a project? I don't know if I have a ton of advice on either subject, but I'd like to be specific. How's it going? Happy Saturday. Appreciate you over in the chat. You thought Godot had their own IDE, Sengimed? Yeah, they do. They do. It's this. It's for writing GDScript. So when we're writing GDScript, we're over here. And then when we're writing C#, we're over here. I use JetBrains Writer. VS Code is fine. I like JetBrains Writer. I don't know if it's totally worth it. It's like $100 a year. When you start out, it's like $160 a year, and then the price goes down and down and down until it's like about $100 a year. But even then, it's a little much. But I use it every day, so I think it's fine. I've gotten used to it by now. I used it when I was in Unity, and now I'm in Godot, and I still use it. So it provided maybe like maybe a cushion. Provided a little support. I feel like that's a huge subject. If you're talking about architecture, yeah, it is. It definitely is. Oh, Godot wants to send us back into ads. We are not going to let it. Sangi, you used to have an IntelliJ license back in the pre-COVID days when you're doing Java. Oh, nice. Hey, Mr. Cat, I appreciate the follow. I think we're going to try to wrap it up. We're going to try to finish this function. And I think we're going to wrap it up kind of soon. I usually stream for about 3 hours. I had a crazy long workday yesterday. I had like a 14-hour workday yesterday, so I like to go a little long on Saturdays, but I think today I just need to unplug after this and like turn my brain off. But let's finish the work of at least converting this to our new context here. So the reason why this is +2, so let me try to think. If I can understand why this was written this way, I should figure out the conversion easily. Godot wants to play ads or Twitch? It's Twitch. Twitch wants mid-roll ads, wants 3 minutes of mid-roll ads every hour, or the pre-rolls come back. And you don't want pre-rolls on Twitch. If you're trying to grow your channel, you do not want pre-rolls. Pre-rolls are ads that run before the person can see the content, whereas at least mid-rolls are just like thing that randomly happens to people every hour. Oh yeah, Writer does have a free license. That's a good point, Casper. Oh, it's for developing open source projects. Oh, nice, because I knew it was for individual or educational use or whatever. But I forgot about the open source project carve out. That's really cool. Oh, who knows what I said, Vimuse? You have no proof. It's not like I'm recording this. You can't prove anything. All right, so index is this because... So the number of layers we have is block tier count times tile layer count. That's just the number of layers we have. The starting index is block tier count times tile layer count +2 because there's a value up front, which is the number of layers for some reason. For some reason, I've decided that's an important thing to pack in here. And then there's another value, which is we're going to put a value way at the end, which is basically... So the first value is the number of layers. The last value is basically the size of the whole thing, which is weird. But we're going to do it that way. We're going to do it that way. Because it makes it easier to carve up these arrays in a loop on the Godot side. So that's how we're going to do that. Recording? What recording? These are everything you've told me is logged forever on YouTube. We're multi-streaming to YouTube. You are on the YouTube side. You know this. You know this to be true. Sneeze one more time. Yeah, we got the VODs. I'm sorry, Locke, I didn't really get to your question. I asked a follow-up question about which kind of aspect of architecture you're interested, software or project. I would love to talk about that sometime. We have a Discord if you want to carry on the conversation there. Otherwise, I do stream Tuesday through Saturday most weeks. So we have a lot of... We're here a lot on Twitch and YouTube here. Usually a few hours a day, those 5 days a week. Okay, there you go. Here's your follow-up question. As in code architecture, like what do you think about when designing your game so you can change things easily? Not like web dev where there's a front end and back end database. I like modularity, so I wrote an entity component system for this, which allows me to write systems. So when I have a functional behavior, I can write a system that handles all that functional behavior. That system can reference components that no other system knows about. Other systems could use those components, maybe they don't. So I like to do a very modular component-based approach so that I'm not having to think about what's the impact to this one part from changing this other part. Like, it's a lot easier to extend code that way, in my opinion. So I like that. I hope I answered some of your question. But yeah, I like to make it as modular as possible. Because it is really hard to architect a game up front. Like, unless you've made that exact kind of game before, you are not going to think of everything up front. So I think architecting for flexibility, architecting for change is like what it's about, right? You want change management to be as painless as possible. You want stuff that you've already done to remain stable. You want stuff that you're making that's new to not have to worry about stuff that you've already done. Modularity is the game dev's secret weapon. Yeah, it is. Good Lord, Poseidon, master of horses in the sea. How do you do 5 streams a week? You do 2 and you feel like you're gonna die. I have a hard time with 5. I do it. I definitely work too much as a person. But it's like any habit. You build up the muscle. You get used to it. But yeah, it's a lot. And that's only about half the time I spend on this game. I spend another 15 hours or so offline, usually working on this game. Ooh, understood. ECS. ECS is not the whole answer. Go read data-oriented design. Go to dataorienteddesignbook.com, I think. Let me make sure that's the correct. That's a way better explanation. Oh, that site doesn't exist anymore. What happened to the Dodd book website? Don't go to the link I said. I'll find you the link. Oh, it's dataorienteddesign.com/Dodd book. I'm gonna hit you with a link. Check that book out. It talks a lot about performant gameplay architectures for, or performant code architectures for games. You can only put so much logic in your ECS. All the logic is in the system. None of the logic is in the C or the E. It's all in the system, and you can put all of it there. And every system, I get your point, Push Toy. I'm not trying to be dismissive. I get your point. How's it going, Push Toy? We're wrapping it up here, but it's good to see you. Well, data-oriented design, yep. Yeah, it's a good book, especially if you're talking about games specifically. I think you could talk all day about software architecture in the abstract and not get anywhere. But that's a good book to keep in mind. It's a good book because it has examples, but it also isn't very it's not like pedantic. It really is like measure it. You know, I'm not gonna be able to summarize that book in a sentence. Hello, lol. Modularity is great. It's possible to make stuff too modular. It comes down to scope and deadlines. Yeah, if I'm making a game design, or if I'm doing a game jam, there is no modularity. Everything is hard-coded. Everything is like, there's one solution. Like, I'm not worried about, you know, making the game easy to work on after the weekend of the game jam. So yeah, if you're making a small game jam, I organize my projects and my code totally differently than something like this, which is a game that I'm going to work on for like 6 to 8 years. Yeah, game jam is just go, go, go. Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of context and time where you don't have time for architecture. Software architecture pays for itself a lot more the longer the development cycle is. Yeah. Game jam is like spawn blood FX specifically on this one guy function. Yeah, exactly. Hey, Push Toy on the 5 stream streak. Are you ending the stream now? I'm trying to wrap it up. We've got pre-roll ads going, which is not good on Twitch. And I'm about to use my last snooze. But well, we didn't do what I wanted to do, which was to get drawing this week. I presume we'll be getting stuff drawn, and we'll be evaluating those draws, and we'll be fixing this system a lot next week. So yeah, I'm gonna wrap it up here. I know I didn't even finish that function I was showing. I'll finish it up real quick offline, and then we'll pick things back up on Tuesday. Luckily, that gives me Monday to kind of get my shit together on this. And then we'll come back and we'll fix all of the problems. And we'll have a game. Then we'll hit the make game button and we'll cash in. You'd get nothing done if you ever streamed. It's definitely like a 0.5x multiplier at best. It definitely like cuts your productivity at least in half, if not at least like 1/10 or something. Somewhere between half and 1/10. That's like how productive I am on stream versus off stream. But you know, it's good. I've gotten a lot of good ideas to chat. It's nice to kind of take a break. What I tell people that are new game devs like me is that unless you have a following, you need to build your audience at the same time you're building your game. Otherwise, you're just going to be screaming into the void. So for me, that's the value of streaming, because I'm a nobody, right? And I'm still a nobody. I was and still am a nobody, but I'm building an audience and I'm building a game. And both things are kind of growing at the same rate, right? The audience is growing, the game is growing. It's a long-term plan for success, and we'll see. We'll see if we get there. You would start bike shedding about bike shedding. We've been there. We've definitely been there. I'm going to hide the code because it doesn't mean anything anymore. Bemused. Yeah, you had to learn that. That's why you stream when you work. Yeah, I think it's a good reason. It's a good reason. Don't let him go. Ask him about large language models, Arneo. Yeah, just start nerd sniping, Dave. Even if it impedes your work short term, it's worth it to grow the audience. I agree, which is why I'm doing the thing. But I think I need to stop doing the thing now. We need to wrap things up. I needed to unplug my brain. Yeah, I've already started the process, unplugging my brain. I want to thank everyone here, especially all our new friends that have come to find us today. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your week, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.